Brad Marchand just dropped news that could seriously hurt the Panthers before the season even begins. After trying to avoid surgery, the veteran star finally had to go under the knife, and now his recovery could keep him out for 2 months or more. Florida already knows what injuries can do to a championship team, but this latest setback could be even more dangerous. Brad Marchand is facing a major setback, and the Florida Panthers may have to start the season without one of their most important players. Marchand recently revealed that he had off-season surgery. The Panthers have not officially announced the exact procedure, but reports say it is connected to the hip and sports hernia problems he had been dealing with. The biggest problem is the timing. Marchand is now expected to need 2 months or more to recover. That puts his training camp in serious doubt. And it could also keep him out when Florida opens the regular season against the Carolina Hurricanes on September 29. That is a huge concern for the Panthers. Marchand is not just another player on the roster. He is a 2-time Stanley Cup champion who knows what it takes to win when the pressure is at its highest. He won his first Stanley Cup with the Boston Bruins in 2011. Then he joined Florida and helped the Panthers win another championship in 2025. Now, Florida needs him again. And the scary part is that this injury problem did not suddenly appear out of nowhere. Marchand missed the final 19 games of Florida's 2025-26 regular season because of a lower body injury. Even with that long absence, he still finished with 27 goals and 54 points in just 52 games. Those numbers show how important he was when he was healthy. But instead of simply resting and getting ready for the new season, Marchand eventually needed surgery. According to his own comments, he first tried to deal with the problem without surgery. That plan did not work well enough, and surgery became necessary. That decision could now have a major effect on Florida. Because if one thing has become clear, it is this: Florida cannot afford another season where injuries destroy its plans. The Panthers now have to prepare for the possibility that Marchand will not be ready when the season starts. That does not mean he will definitely miss the opener, but the recovery timeline has made his availability a real question. Marchand brings more than goals and points. He brings playoff experience, toughness, leadership, and the ability to play in difficult moments. Those things are hard to replace, especially on a team that is trying to return to the Stanley Cup picture. Florida also has another challenge. The Panthers cannot simply depend on Marchand to carry the team when he returns. They need other players to step up while he is away. More pressure could fall on the team's other top forwards, and the coaching staff may have to change the lines if Marchand is not ready. That can make training camp very important. If Marchand cannot take part in camp, Florida will have less time to build its lineup with him in mind. The team may have to test different combinations and prepare for games without one of its biggest leaders. But there is still some hope. Marchand's surgery was done during the offseason, giving him time to recover before the regular season begins. If his recovery goes well, he could still return earlier than the most worried fans expect. The key word is if. Nobody wants Marchand rushing back before his body is ready. A player coming back too early can create an even bigger problem. Florida needs Marchand healthy for the long season, not just for one game in September. And this is where his age becomes important again. At 38, recovery may not be the same as it was when Marchand was a younger player, but his career shows that he has dealt with pressure before. He has played more than 1,100 NHL games and has scored over 1,000 points. That experience could help him handle the situation. The Panthers will also remember what happened last season. They entered the year as back-to-back Stanley Cup champions, but injuries and other problems pushed them out of the playoff race. That made their road much harder than expected. Something about Auston Matthews' offseason has Maple Leafs fans asking serious questions. The captain is back in Arizona working with a sports chiropractor known for helping athletes with back pain, and that detail has suddenly caught fire. But is this simply smart preparation for a full comeback? Or is there something more going on that nobody is talking about yet? Auston Matthews has already been through a brutal season, and now his off-season recovery is giving Maple Leafs fans another reason to pay attention. The Toronto captain missed the final part of the 2025-26 season after suffering a serious left knee injury. It was a grade 3 MCL tear along with a quad contusion after a knee-on-knee collision with Anaheim Ducks defenseman Radko Gudas. The injury ended Matthews' season after just 60 games. The injury was serious enough that Matthews needed surgery. NHL.com reported that he had the procedure in March with an expected recovery time of about 12 weeks. That put his focus firmly on getting healthy for the 2026-27 season. Matthews finished the season with 27 goals and 53 points in 60 games, but the bigger concern for Toronto was getting its captain back on the ice. A recent report shared by Leafs Chronicle says Matthews has been spending part of his offseason in Arizona working with sports chiropractor Sean Robeck. Robeck is known for working with athletes who deal with back pain. Photos and comments about Matthews' condition have also led fans to notice how strong he looks as he prepares for the new season. That sounds positive on the surface. Matthews appears to be working hard and preparing his body before training camp. But fans immediately started asking another question. Why is a player recovering from a major knee injury working with someone known for treating back problems? There's an important difference between what fans are asking and what has actually been confirmed. Matthews has been open about how tough the last few seasons have been physically. In 2025, he said he had gone through a very difficult year physically and wanted to return to training camp fully healthy. Sportsnet also reported that his back problems had been an issue dating back to the 2024 training camp. Matthews has always been careful about what he shares about his health, saying that he has the right to keep some medical details private. Remember, the confirmed injury that ended his 2025-26 season was his left knee. NHL.com reported that Matthews suffered a grade 3 MCL tear and a quad contusion after the collision with Radko Gudas. He later had surgery, with an expected recovery time of about 12 weeks. In April, he said he expected to be physically ready to start the 2026-27 season. That is a major detail because it means the public information does not point toward Matthews being ruled out or facing a known setback. The first thing is his movement when training camp begins. Can Matthews skate freely? Can he make hard turns? Can he battle for the puck without protecting his knee? And most importantly, can he handle the daily physical pressure of an NHL season? The second thing is his workload. Toronto needs Matthews at his best, but the team also needs to make sure it does not push him too hard too early. A healthy Matthews is far more valuable than a superstar trying to play through another serious problem. Matthews is entering a huge period for the Maple Leafs. Toronto missed the playoffs in 2025-26, and the team has gone through major changes in its hockey operations leadership. General Manager John Chayka has said Matthews wants to win in Toronto, while Matthews himself has said he cannot predict what his long-term future will look like. If Matthews returns healthy and plays like the superstar Toronto knows he can be, the entire mood around the Maple Leafs could change. But if his body once again becomes a problem, the questions will become much louder. For now, there's no confirmed new back injury. The chiropractor report does not prove that one exists. What it does show is that Matthews is taking his offseason preparation seriously. And that may be the most important part of this entire story. After a season that ended with a major knee injury, Auston Matthews appears determined to make sure his body is ready before the pressure starts again. Now, all eyes will be on what happens when he finally returns to the ice. Everyone thought Gavin McKenna would become Toronto's next superstar the moment he arrived. But the Maple Leafs gave him a message that shocked everyone, and it completely changed his future. What they told him, behind the scenes, could reshape everything fans expected. A player expected to become the face of Toronto arrived with a very different assignment. Gavin McKenna entered the Maple Leafs organization after being selected first overall in the 2026 NHL draft, but the message from team officials was not about rushing him into a starring role. From his first day in Toronto, the focus stayed on development, patience, and building for the future. That direction quickly changed the conversation around his place in the organization. The first overall pick always brings high expectations. Toronto made McKenna the top selection because of his production, skating, vision, and complete game. But the organization also spoke about qualities that do not appear on a score sheet. During his first media appearances, McKenna described the moment as a dream. He said, "It's pretty surreal." The excitement around the selection was clear, but the club also made it clear that his next steps would follow a long-term plan rather than a fast track to NHL stardom. That plan became more visible only days later. McKenna reported to the Maple Leafs development camp instead of preparing for immediate NHL action. The camp placed him with coaches, prospects, and player development staff. The sessions focused on skating drills, systems, fitness testing, and learning how the organization operates. Those details show that Toronto viewed him as a player who would be developed step by step instead of being placed under instant pressure. The organization also controlled expectations from the start. Development camp was not presented as a competition for an NHL roster spot. Instead, it became the first stage of a much larger process. Coaches worked with McKenna on daily habits, practice routines, and learning the pace expected at the professional level. Those early decisions matched the message delivered throughout draft weekend. But another detail received even more attention. Toronto officials repeatedly pointed toward McKenna's character. Reports following the draft highlighted his maturity and how he handled the spotlight that comes with becoming the first overall pick. Playing in Toronto brings constant media coverage and one of the largest fan bases in hockey. The organization did not describe that pressure as something to fear. Instead, it presented it as part of the environment McKenna would gradually learn to manage. And that became another important part of his role. His arrival also came during an important period for the franchise. The Maple Leafs already have established NHL stars, including captain Auston Matthews. That meant McKenna was not entering a team searching for one player to solve every problem. Instead, Toronto's structure allowed him to develop alongside experienced leaders. Rather than carrying the team immediately, his role became learning from players who already understand the demands of competing in the NHL. But that was only one layer of the organization's thinking. McKenna also addressed the attention surrounding his arrival. During his first days with Toronto, he acknowledged the excitement around becoming the top pick. He said, "It's pretty surreal." The quote reflected the scale of the moment, while also showing that his attention had already shifted toward the work ahead. Public celebration quickly gave way to structured development inside the organization. The Maple Leafs have followed similar approaches with many young players in recent years. Development has become a central part of building an NHL roster. Rather than asking prospects to carry immediate expectations, the club has often focused on improving skills over time. McKenna entered that same system. His first assignment was not leading the team in scoring. It was learning how the organization wants its players to grow before reaching the next level. Reports covering his arrival also showed another important point. Toronto repeatedly connected McKenna's future with patience instead of speed. Coaches and executives discussed preparation, growth, and long-term success rather than immediate production. Those comments align with the activities at development camp, where the emphasis remained on teaching instead of rushing. The message stayed consistent from draft night through his first practices. Outside, observers also noticed that approach. Analysis following the draft pointed to McKenna's leadership qualities alongside his skill. Several reports suggested that Toronto viewed those traits as important parts of its future. His role extended beyond putting the puck in the net. Leadership, preparation, and adapting to the organization's culture became central themes during his first week with the club, and that attention continued to grow. The timing also mattered. Toronto entered a new chapter after adding the first overall selection to a roster that already featured established NHL talent. That combination gave the organization flexibility. McKenna could develop without carrying every expectation alone. Veteran players remained in place while the prospect learned the professional game. That structure allowed the organization to think years ahead rather than only one season ahead. From draft night through development camp, the facts remained consistent. Gavin McKenna arrived as the first overall pick. He entered one of hockey's biggest markets. Toronto immediately focused on development, learning, and long-term planning. Hall of Fame executive Jim Devellano described him as a possible foundation player for the franchise. McKenna called the moment pretty surreal. Those statements, combined with the organization's actions, showed that his first role in Toronto was not to become the team's instant superstar. His first role was to become the player the Maple Leafs believe can anchor the franchise for years to come, while the next stage of that plan continued behind the scenes. One simple photo has Maple Leafs fans talking again, and the internet is filled with one big question. Why were Mitch Marner and Auston Matthews standing together after everything that happened? The images spread fast, emotions exploded, and fans started wondering if this reunion means more than just friendship. But before jumping to conclusions, there's an important part of this story that almost everyone is missing. Mitch Marner may now wear the colors of the Vegas Golden Knights, but one recent post reminded hockey fans of his years with the Toronto Maple Leafs. During the NHL offseason, Marner shared a group of photos from his summer on social media. At first, the pictures looked like normal offseason memories, but one photo quickly caught everyone's attention. It showed Marner standing with Auston Matthews and several former Maple Leafs teammates during Frederik Andersen's wedding celebration. Within hours, the picture was being shared across hockey pages, and fans everywhere started talking about what it could mean. For many Maple Leafs fans, seeing Marner and Matthews together again brought back a lot of memories. The two stars spent years playing on the same team. They celebrated exciting wins, fought through tough playoff losses, and became two of the biggest faces of the franchise. Even though Marner has now started a new chapter with the Vegas Golden Knights, the friendship between the former teammates was clear in the wedding photos. The smiles and relaxed moments show that time together away from the ice can still bring old teammates together. The wedding itself made the reunion even more special. Frederik Andersen was not just another teammate. During his years with Toronto, Andersen became one of the team's most trusted goalies and shared many important moments with both Marner and Matthews. Over the years, Andersen and Marner have spoken warmly about their friendship. Even after Andersen left Toronto, they stayed in touch. That made his wedding the perfect place for former teammates to meet again, celebrate together, and enjoy time away from hockey. As the photos spread online, fans quickly began creating their own stories. Some people wondered if the reunion meant Marner missed Toronto. Others asked if Matthews wanted his former teammate back with the Maple Leafs one day. A few even suggested that something bigger could be happening behind the scenes. But it is important to separate excitement from facts. There has been no announcement about Marner returning to Toronto. There has been no report of contract talks, trade discussions, or secret meetings. The gathering happened because close friends came together to celebrate a wedding, not because of NHL business. It is also important to understand what these photos do not mean. Since Marner joined the Vegas Golden Knights, some fans have hoped he could return to Toronto one day. Others have wondered if he still keeps in touch with his former teammates. The wedding photos answered one question: yes, the friendships are still there. But they did not answer another question that many fans continue asking. There has been no official report that Marner wants to return to the Maple Leafs. There have been no trade talks announced, no contract discussions, and no sign that this reunion had anything to do with hockey business. It was a private celebration shared with friends. Frederik Andersen's wedding gave everyone a chance to step away from the pressure of the NHL. During the season, players compete against each other and focus on helping their own teams win. But away from the ice, many players remain close friends. That is exactly what fans saw in these pictures. They saw former teammates laughing together, celebrating an important day, and enjoying time with people who have shared years of memories. Sometimes, the strongest hockey stories are not about goals or championships. They are about the friendships that continue long after teammates go their separate ways. Still, it is easy to understand why Leafs fans became emotional. For years, Marner and Matthews were two of the biggest stars in Toronto. Many supporters believed that group had everything needed to win the Stanley Cup. Although that dream never became reality, fans still remember the excitement those teams created. Seeing Marner standing beside Matthews again reminded many people of what could have been. That feeling alone was enough to make the photos spread across social media and hockey news pages within hours. As more fans reacted online, one thing became clear. This reunion was about respect, friendship, and shared history. It was not about making headlines with a surprise announcement. Sometimes, a single picture can bring back years of memories without anyone saying a word. That is exactly what happened here. Mitch Marner's post reminded the hockey world that while jerseys may change and careers may move in different directions, real friendships often remain the same. For now, the facts are clear.